So in this fight here, we've got Derrick Lewis, fan favorite overall, big power puncher, most knockouts in UFC history. And on the other side here, we've got Nascimento, who, is a grappler, 11-1, and really looking to kind of move himself up the rankings in this particular spot on Saturday night. Now, this is going to be your clear grappler versus striker type of matchup here. And you've got the jiu-jitsu of Nascimento that there's no doubt, this guy does have a ground game, especially for the heavyweight division. You're not going to see many guys that have this high level grappling. He definitely does. He has that ability. If you can get it to the ground, he can either smother you or he's looking to kind of finish the fight on top. And then you got the power punching of Derrick Lewis, who obviously, if he lands one, that could be the end of the night. But I do see, going back, rewatching everything, I do see two really big issues here for Nascimento. And I think the first one here, and it's probably one that if you're broken down this fight at any point, you're going to probably see the same thing. And it's really the low success rate of Nascimento on takedowns. I think there's an issue there, and I don't really see him really having that full-on ability to really level change, to really find opportunities to get the level change, that quick first step. He right now has 33% takedown success rate overall. He averages a little over one takedown per 15 minutes. Now, it's the stats and everything like that are one thing, but when you optically watch, I think his entries are sloppy. I don't think that he really has the ability to look for these level changes. And that really starts to open up a lot of things for Derrick Lewis on the feet. If he can't get these takedowns, if he can't start to threaten on the ground, this is where Derrick Lewis is going to find success, throw those big shots. And if you even look at it overall, Don'Tale Mayes, who I think is a terrible fighter overall, although I still think Caio Machado beat him a couple weeks ago. But either way, Don'Tale Mayes was able to stop all three takedowns from Nascimento. He was 0-3 on takedowns on Don'Tale. And then even Alan Badeau, who is just a complete garbage can of a fighter. No offense to the guy, but just not a good fighter. Even he stopped 3 takedowns for Nascimento. Nascimento was 0-3 on him as well. So I do think that even guys of that level who are struggling, Nascimento was struggling to get takedowns. That's going to be a big problem for him if you're looking on Saturday night to get a big, strong man like Derrick Lewis down and keep him down. Lewis right now has a 53% takedown defense rate, but I think the other part about this fight that I do think could be some issues for Nascimento is how Lewis explodes off the ground. Now, he's not an easy guy to keep down, which is very odd. I mean, yes, Jailton was able to do it, but Jailton and Nascimento are not built the same. They are completely different here when you're looking at both of these guys. I mean, Almeida is really set for big things. I don't really think Nascimento is, but just keeping Lewis down, holding him down, keeping him there, threatening takedowns, I think is going to be tough for Nascimento overall. Now, if this play plays out on the feet, I mean, I see bad things happening to Nascimento overall. You've got 27 victories for Derrick Lewis, 22 of those by knockout. And, Nascimento's hittable. He's a guy that is hittable, and stats show it, even when you're just, again, going back. I love rewatching the fights before I even give any information or client plays. I am deep diving into these fights, and you just see he's very hittable. If you even look at just strikes absorbed, what is it? Nascimento, he averages a little under 5 significant strikes absorbed per minute. You look at the other side, Lewis is about 2.5 strikes absorbed per minute. So it's really the Nascimento. He can come forward. He can throw some volume, but he is a hittable guy. He doesn't have the greatest defense. And the issue is that if he can't get the fight to the ground, his kind of herky-jerky striking style is really left for dead standing. I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it here. He's got slower developing combinations. I don't think that he doesn't have power like Lewis does as well. And even furthermore, you look at the competition level. Competition level to me, I think, is not the greatest either. You look at what he's done over his last few fights here. He KO'd Alan Badeau, and that was even, he knocks out Alan Badeau, and then he pops for, Nascimento pops for PEDs. So I guess take that how you will with that. But then after that, he beats Tanner Boser. And now Tanner Boser, I don't even think is UFC caliber, nor is he even a guy for this division. Small guy, he has maybe some quick hands, but that is about it. And he had a split decision against Boser, does get the victor over Boser, but really not the greatest look overall. And then he ends up beating Ilir Latifi. Now, Ilir Latifi at this point is aged out. It's his retirement fight. And somehow Nascimento wins a split decision against Ilir Latifi. I think that's another really shitty look for him overall. I don't think that's a good look for this guy who was really like, is he going to move up the ranks? Is he going to be the next big thing? And he's battling against Tanner Boser and Ilir Latifi. And then even most recently, as I just talked about, Don'Tale Mayes, he fights Don'Tale Mayes, and that was a close fight overall. Yes, that, you know, Nascimento got it, but if you want to be anything or anybody, you better not be having competitive bouts with Don'Tale Mayes. He ends up beating him there, credit to him. But if you look at Derrick Lewis, yes, he's older, you know, all these things, I get it, but he has fought the cream of the crop and has not been scared to do it. Even Jailton Almeida, which was a short notice fight. They shipped him to Brazil, and yes, he lost, but that's just a terrible stylistic matchup. He's fighting high level guys, and then you even look at even further. Sergey Pavlovich, absolute killer. Sergey Spivak, terrible stylistic matchup. A guy who does have some wrestling. Cyril Gahn, elite level striker. Curtis Blades, he has fought really tough fighters overall. I don't really see that from Nascimento. I think most of these guys would actually run through Nascimento completely. So I do like Derrick Lewis here, but I also do like him via knockout. I think that's going to be his most likely path. I think he gets the job done here. It's about -130. I like it for Derrick Lewis. Thinks he gets the knockout here, and I'm just really not that big on Nascimento overall to begin with. Next fight we're going to be going over here is going to be Tabitha Ricci versus Tisha. Don't call me Torres Pennington. So listen, this is a spot where this is interesting. We've got Ricci, she's -142. You got Torres. I think every time I call her Tisha Torres, I should do a shot. There's one. Here's one. Cheers. Okay. Let's try not to keep doing that. So Pennington, she now has been out, obviously, with the last name change here, Tisha, married to Raquel. They have a kid. She birthed the child, as in Tisha. And, 2 years off is one thing, right? 2 years off is one thing, you know what I mean? You look at just, timing, training, crafting your skills, sharpening your tools, all those things. And now on top of that, she obviously was out for substantial time, as in the gym, being pregnant, having to give birth to a child, all those things that do go with that. It's a tough spot for her to come back. And, even when you look at kind of her 2-year layoff, even prior to her layoff, she was looking pretty damn good. You go back to 2019, she was beating some lower level fighters, but then she started facing the really elite girls, Ioana Jędrzejczyk, Weili Zhang, Marina Rodriguez. In 2019, she ended up, fighting these girls, losing. Then she went on a nice run over her last 4 fights before this layoff. She went 3-1 and arguably won against Mackenzie Dern. I thought she did squeak that out, so she could really be 4-0 run taking off this layoff here. And I do think that that's going to be really, that's going to be a telling sign here. There's going to be things that we don't know here, obviously. But when you kind of really cap and break it down, you kind of look at just skill overall, and you really look at paths to victory. And for here, Ricci, it's going to be wrestling for her. She's going to look for the wrestling. She's going to look for the takedowns. She's going to look for that top control. She is strong. She can look for those level changes and bank rounds. That's really where she's found, any type of success. It's really pretty much been that. Now, the thing here for me is that I'm not totally sold on Ricci as a wrestler. Now, looks wise, it's a 10. Wrestling, I don't really think it's that good. Now, I think that she can to certain fighters. I think that she can kind of work them and get those takedowns. You saw even against Lupi Godinez, which was a client play and a fight that I was at Madison Square Garden. And clients, we bet Lupi there in that spot. And Ricci was 0 for 6 on takedowns. And I think that's a terrible look. Yes, she's been able to take certain women down, and we're going to run through those. You look at the last, few. Jillian Robertson, Robertson has 0 striking, and she doesn't mind being on her back. And that really kind of worked well for Ricci to go out there and get the victory overall. She fights Jessica Penne. Jessica Penne, another, kind of middling fighter. She came back. She was out for a while. She came back kind of, oh, is this a big resurgence for her? Not really. She's at 40, lost her last few, and this is another spot where retirement. Polyana Viana, no physical strength. I think she lacks striking power. She lacks a lot of things, and she's 1-3 out of her last 4. And yes, Ricci goes out there, gets the victory. And then even further back is Marina Oliveira, who I don't rate high at all when it comes to just pure skills. And she's 1-4 out of her last 5. So I just think that this is a spot where I think that Tisha is the big, I think positive for her is the volume. I think her volume's going to be there. Her striking is going to be there. She's going to have that big, just over voluming her. And that's really where I think Ricci is going to start to fall back on the scorecards. I think that Tisha's footwork, her, her hand speed, her just volume, all that together is going to be too much for Ricci. I think that she's going to get very desperate for takedowns, not being able to get them. I do think, and I lean more towards the way that Tisha is going to look, back to herself. She's kind of person that you can tell. I mean, she is a physical freak. Tiny Tornado is just, filled with muscle and a monster. I think that she can kind of muscle her way out of some of these takedowns, work at range, pitter patter the shots, and probably win a decision. But I'm going to take Tisha here at +120. I think the line is good here at that plus number. So we're taking Tisha Pennington to get the job done in that fight. Now, the next one here we're going to talk about is Viacheslav Borshchev -145 against Chase Hooper +120. Now, this spot here is another grappler versus striker type of matchup where, you're going to look for the takedowns. You got, Chase. He's going to look for the takedowns. He's going to look to use his high-level jiu-jitsu. There's no doubt about it. He has very high-level jiu-jitsu, lanky legs, lanky arms, very, very flexible and odd, situations. And, on the ground, he's able to kind of slip out, find opportunities to take the back, lock in things. And at times it looks a little crazy, but on the ground, this kid really, really is good when it comes to the grappling side of things. And even some of these grappling tournaments he's done, Clay Guida, he choked out. I mean, he has really looked good in certain spots when it comes to that. Now, Borshchev, -200, this opened, and money has come in on him. And I do believe it really is due to the path to victory that people are kind of thinking about. Hey, the takedowns, we know that Borshchev is shit when it comes to stopping takedowns. There's no doubt about that. Just not good at all. And, you look at it, out of his 6 UFC fights, including Dana White's Contender Series, opponents have 28 takedowns of 44 attempts. Not going to lie, that's pretty damn high. Definitely high overall there. And that is something that, I think you can correct. I do think that's something that you can correct at a certain point here. He still, has opportunity to kind of grow with the sport because his striking is phenomenal when it comes to Borshchev. And he's also with Team Alpha Male. He's a striking coach there. I do think that's the right gym probably for him because I think it's going to just elevate his wrestling, elevate his scrambles, his takedown defense, and all those things I think have to get better with some of those guys in that gym and just overall making him better. Now, the issue here for Chase Hooper is the fact that he just does not have strength. He is just not physical. He just doesn't have those things. And that can be an issue for him when he's looking for his most likely path is takedowns, and he's going to struggle with the takedowns. That's an issue. 22% success rate, not very good overall. And again, the strength and physicality that he lacks is I think kind of why he moved up. I think that they kind of figure, hey, he's big, he's tall, he's got the frame, throw some weight on this kid. He's young enough where he's 24 years old. He's young enough, get some weight on this kid and get him moving up and gaining the muscle. And, is that going to be the turnout for him in this particular spot? We will see. But also you look at it is that if this fight plays out on the feet, Borshchev is going to run through Chase Hooper here. I mean, I think it's going to be he's going to be kicking legs, kicking the body, mixing it up. And that's the thing really about Borshchev is that, fantastic striking on the feet, quick jab, powerful kicks. He really mixes up those kicks well, body, leg, he'll even dig to the body with his fists. I mean, he really mixes it up. And I think a guy like Chase Hooper who really just throws winging 1-2 punches and then looks to kind of do an inside trip and get a takedown, I don't know if that works. I don't know if that works against Borshchev. Again, compared to some of the lower level guys that Chase has faced overall. And also the thing too is that Borshchev's tough. You saw his last fight against Nassim Saliakov. I mean, that was a tough fight where Borshchev looked great. All of a sudden, he's getting beaten up on the ground. I think Nassim has some good wrestling overall, but, he's able to, kind of battle it, come back. It was a draw, whatever it was, but it showed that he's not a quitter. He's durable, and he could take a beating and keep coming forward. I don't think he's going to have to deal with any of those things in this fight against Chase Hooper because there is no threat standing. I think, there's no threat standing. He's kind of got to defend the takedowns and land big shots. I think that's something that's very, very possible that Borshchev can be able to do because, the sloppy striking, just to be honest with you, I think Chase Hooper is sloppy everywhere besides when he's on the mat. When he's physically laying on the ground with another opponent, I think that his grappling is great. His transitions are great. He mixes it up very well. He kind of, the way he able, pulling reversals, all these things that he does really well on the ground are great. Those are great. But his entries on takedowns are atrocious. His striking is terrible. His striking defense is horrible. I mean, there really isn't much that he's that good at overall, and I think that's going to be a problem here. And then you also look at it as that, again, strength of schedule here. I mean, I'm not impressed with even who he's beat. Now, I get it. He's young, all these things, but he's been in really tough situations for fighting extremely low-level guys. I mean, Steve Garcia, I don't rate him that high, really, but he dropped Chase 3 times, knocked him out in 90 seconds. Terrible look overall there. Nick Fiore, another guy who I just think is trash. And even though Chase had success, was doing very well, and all these great things. When you look at kind of stats at the end, all those things, Chase was in trouble in that first round. Nick was landing. Nick was finding opportunity to control the action a little bit. Yes, he won, and I get it. But still, a guy like Borshchev puts him in any kind of trouble, puts Chase in any kind of trouble, he's going to finish him. And then even most recently against Jordan Levitt, this is a perfect stylistic matchup for Chase Hooper. Absolutely a guy who has no striking like him, but is willing to, go on the ground and roll around. And that's exactly what happened. Jordan Levitt pushed for the takedown, and, Chase gets the submission in that first round pretty easily. But overall, I think that Borshchev is going to just sprawl and brawl. I think he's going to be able to kind of create space, and overall just keep landing big damaging shots, really hurting Chase Hooper, who again, very, very, inefficient in multiple areas besides the ground. I think that Borshchev can keep it there. So I do like Borshchev here, but I also do like him via KO. I think that's very live here. Get some plus money. It's roughly around the plus 110, plus 115 mark. So I do like Borshchev also to get the job done, and KO is absolutely live. And now the last one here we're going to be going over is going to be between, who the hell is it? Carlos Ulberg, minus 270 against Alonzo Menafield, plus 220. Now, this one here, I'll quickly kind of go over here. And this is a spot where both these guys are explosive strikers. They're both heavy hitters. They're going to move forward. They're going to throw big shots. Both of them are finishers. Absolutely. When you look at this here, you've got Ulberg. He's got 9 victories, 6 by knockout, 1 by submission. You've got Menafield, 15 wins, 9 KOs, 4 submissions. So these guys definitely, if this fight ends, looking like inside the distance here by one of them. And this is a spot where I get it. I get why Ulberg is the big favorite here. I absolutely get it. He definitely is a guy that is, incredible striking, great distance management, solid footwork. He mixes it up very well, high level kickboxer, and has the goods. I think he's really got the goods to, depending on his ground game, but he pretty much has the goods on the feet. You've seen what he can do in the kickboxing arena. And Menafield is a guy that really is going to just bulldoze forward. He's going to bulldoze forward. He's going to throw big shots. He's going to be winging them. He's going to be looking to, land the bomb. And could he land the bomb? Of course. These are big boys. Both of them throw hard. There is an opportunity for that. But the issue here is that he's just very sloppy. The guy is sloppy. He definitely is another one that kind of wings punches, doesn't set up his big shots overall. And that's something that I think Ulberg will have a field day with. I think that comparing, high-level kickboxers that he's fighting against Menafield, now obviously this is MMA, but you look at just the pure striking side of it, I just think Ulberg is going to absolutely dominate on the feet. But you add in the wrestling part of it. Can Menafield get a takedown? Can he get some of that control time? Can he look for a finish? One, I don't think he can look for a finish on the ground. I mean, it's possible, of course. I don't want to say never, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that. Plus, I think that even with takedowns and going that route for takedowns, I don't think is even the greatest really spot for him either, is because he doesn't have the energy to really fuel consistent takedowns. Or even if he gets, Ulberg on the ground, can he kind of just keep him there? Can he just hold him there, work him there, and bank around? Sure. But can he do that, over 3 rounds? I don't think so. Ulberg's cardio maybe could be iffy too. We're not fully sure compared to kind of how, his cardio management. That's been a little bit of an issue there too. But I don't think that Menafield is going to get the takedowns. I think that his striking is very lackluster overall. I think he makes a lot of mistakes too, even in spots where there are opportunities for him to maybe win the position or find an opportunity to counter. He just makes really shitty mistakes, and that opens up windows for his opponent to find the finish or bank around or find opportunities to win that moment. And I think that's going to be a problem for him overall. So I think in this spot, I think this is Ulberg here all day. And I also like by knockout. I think that's going to be the path here. I don't think this is going to be one where either guy wins a decision. I think this is another knockout. I do like Ulberg getting the job done, getting off the big -270 number. You can get Ulberg via KO around -110. I think is a nice number there. I think it's a likely path, and that's who I think is going to win the fight. So there you have it for UFC St. Louis. We're going to do one more shot because we're gonna win again this weekend. You know what I mean? So if you want to become a client, link down in the description. Again, I've got 2 plays up now. Gonna have about 4 or 5 plays like I normally do every card. Looking for strong spots to put our money on, and we're gonna do this again next weekend. Let's do a shot. Ah, man. Ooh, there we go. Victory tastes good. All right. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button once in a while. You know what I mean? Hit the like button if you can. And we'll do this again next weekend. Let's cash.